Welcome to my next video, HTML Basics Part 2. If you haven't checked out my first video, go ahead and check that out. Mainly just going through just the basic part of the HTML document and where to put all of your elements, etc. Today we're going to go more into depth on HTML elements and how to use them. First, let's talk about some of the HTML elements that were introduced in HTML5 that may be helpful to you in setting up your first web pages. The 7 new elements we're going to discuss are section, article, aside, header, footer, nav, and figure. Let's take these one by one. All of these elements are designed to specify what kind of content will be contained inside of them. This should make more sense as we go along. Starting with section. Section is used for denoting a section of content similar to a chapter in a book. The section contains content that goes together. Inside of a section, you can have all kinds of HTML elements, usually all of them going together in a similar theme. Next we have the article. This is used to clearly identify content on a web page. A blog is a good example of content that can be clearly identified as it has specific titles or articles. Also inside of the article you can have multiple HTML elements. More than one article or section can be added to a web page to break up content. Similar content contained in multiple articles can be contained within a section. Now let's talk about nav. This is an important element since an important part of any web page is navigation. A nav is used to contain groups of links that form navigation for the site. A site can have various navigations, such as a top navigation, links for next or previous, or even footer links, all contained within a nav bar. A nav is not usually nested inside of a section, but it can be depending on its usage. Next we have the header and the footer. Take a Word document, for example. The top part where the title goes and the bottom where the page numbers are where the navigation or the header and the footer would be. It's the same idea, but for a web page. The header goes at the top and usually contains the website logo, name, title, and navigation. The footer goes at the bottom and usually contains the copyright and other links to external items such as social media links and more. Keep in mind that a nav usually will go inside of a header, but can also be in a footer or an aside, which we'll talk about now. An aside is a part of a web page that is separate from the main content, but related in some way. Think of a school textbook and how the main content sometimes has little references off to the side in a sidebar. It's the same idea. An aside is used to reference the main content, and then we use CSS to position it where we want it. For now, just think of an aside as a sidebar reference to the content. An aside can be nested in a section, but is normally nested within an article since it refers to certain parts of the content. However, if the content in the aside refers to all of the content in the section, it would make sense to put it in the section itself. And finally, we come to the figure element. This element is utilized with images or media and its description. We nest an image tag inside of a figure along with its description to designate a set or figure group. The figure element has another element that it uses called legend. The legend is for identifying the text associated with the image. Basically, it's a label or title for the image or media content. The figure element can be nested within any other block element wherever an image is inserted on the page. All of these HTML5 elements are extremely useful for organizing your web page on an HTML page that you create. More often than not, depending on the type of web page, you may find that your pages will look similar to this layout. You'll have a header with a nav, then a main section, and possibly 1 or 2 more sections, each with their own articles. The main section may have an aside and a footer, which is at the end with figure elements where needed. I hope this video has provided some insight into HTML5 basic elements. Please comment below with any questions, and stay tuned for my HTML Basics Part 3 coming up after this. And as always, thanks for watching.